Nonetheless, this lawyer for the housing authority goes down to the prosecutor's office and reports that she has reason to believe that a crime is being committed, that this woman is living in Bridgeport but has a child in Norwalk. Now, what does she have to do at the school district? Absolutely nothing. So what's her issue with Tanya McDowell living in Bridgeport or Norwalk and her child being in school in Norwalk? I have no idea. But I do know that the prosecutor represented to me that at that point she told Mr. Latticerulo, the housing lawyer, if you know a crime is being committed, then you need to go and report it to the police. Well, they go and report it to the police. The police have their own agenda at this point, and what they're concerned with is drug dealing in Norwalk and people that may have dealt drugs in or around the homeless shelter. And so they approached Tanya McDowell and asked her to strike a deal. Give us information about this, that, and the third, and we won't prosecute you. At this point, Tanya McDowell was like, I don't want to become a snitch or working for the police, etc., and she steps away. Now, the child was in school from September 2010 to January 2011. After she refused to cooperate with the police on giving them information, etc., and in April 15th, she was arrested on a warrant. Now, I'm seeking the warrant right now because the warrants have to be sworn out with some particularity. So I want to see how they articulated what they were looking for. I know for one, not only are you people outraged about this, and the rest of a great population of the rest of the world is outraged by this, but the housing official spoke to me off the record and was totally upset with this and said, you know what, we evict people from housing when they're dealing drugs in the housing authority, or if they have another working person who's beyond the income level and now they are taking up a space that some poor person could use, etc. That's when we normally do this. He said this 5-year-old living in this house with this babysitter didn't cause any more stress on the housing scenario, wasn't bringing in the income to the housing scenario, wasn't doing nothing to affect what the housing normally looks for when they evict people. So he was upset, like, why do you evict this woman because she has a 5-year-old there? A 5-year-old is the son of a woman who's just in a shelter. So none of it makes sense. So no, to fast forward, she was arrested in April and given a $25,000 bond, which is another thing that's offensive because the law is quite clear. Bond is not supposed to be higher than what's reasonable to assure the person will return to court. She's no flight risk, and she's going to return to court. Now, there's a lot of backdrop here. She was in AIC, which is also a drug program. They have a drug component. She had some dirty urines, etc., coming up, and then she got clean. She was in the job readiness program, and then they released her from the AIC program. Now she's on her own. Shortly after this, continuing on this witch hunt, the Norwalk Police Department Special Units contacts the Stanford Special Units, and they get this guy to come up and befriend a former mate of hers at the homeless shelter, a lady named Wanda. Now this guy, as I understand, I haven't seen him, but it's a chubby white guy, looking like sort of down on his luck, sort of undercover. Well, not sort of, really undercover. And so he's a friend of Wanda's. They call Tanya constantly to hang out. And she tells him, I can't hang out with you guys. I'm trying to care for my kid, blah, blah, blah. So she says, also, I don't have a car. My van is not working that well. So anyway, they persistently try to reach out to her. So she finally hangs out with them on one Friday. That's how it starts, on a Friday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. 3 different occasions. So she hangs out with them, and then the guy's just hanging out with Wanda, and it's Leslie, Wanda's friend, or boyfriend, and Tanya's in the car. The guy says what they all say, just like we hear at a college party, where can I get some marijuana, where can I score, etc. Tanya's in the car, and the allegations are, Tanya says to Wanda, call Jimmy, or call whatever, you know what time it is, because we all know what time it is. There's no secret to that. You're in a shelter, you have some issues, she used drugs in the past, etc. That's not a crime. She needs help for that. But anyway, they play on that, and so Wanda goes and calls the guy, blah, 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 blah. Tanya's involved, and they report it. They do it another time, and then they go get a warrant. So, as you might have heard some of my comments in the paper, how much work did it take to do that? More money, more spending to set somebody up who's predisposed based on their past drug use, based on the fact they live in a shelter around this element. That was so easy to do. But what does that accomplish? Did that seek justice? Did that bring about any greater justice? No, it didn't. It just caused her to be incarcerated, and for everybody to say, I told you we shouldn't help her. I told you she's different from the other white kids who are white parents who put their kids in same schools, who may live in Darien and put their kids here because the teams are better. We have so many cases where suburbia puts their kids in this school, maybe in Norwalk, or maybe over here, because the rugby team is better, because the football team is better, because they want to set them up for a scholarship in the future for Duke or whatever reasons, and nothing happens. We had 26 cases that were similar to Tanya at the same time that Tanya's case was going on. Nothing happened. That was documented. And then it's also documented that for the last 10 years, there's been at least a dozen cases per year in the Norwalk school system. No arrest. I had the prosecutor reach out to Bruce Morris, who's a representative of the school district, and he stated on the record, always screaming racism or whatever, but just be the judge. Also documented, whenever you have suburban neighborhoods that abut urban environments, you're always going to have the same situation, especially in economic times. So that alone tells you that economically, we're not on the same par as kids and families who can afford a better education. So we have to work that situation out. And I think that's where we start. The details further than that with Tanya McDowell, I just feel I'm hoping this Wednesday, just to update you, the judge kept pushing this case off. The judge kept saying we won't be able to hear an argument for bond until mid-September. I was arguing yesterday adamantly that we need to have a bond argument this week, because the child's going to school in September, and if we can get her out, we need to have her out now. We can put on an ankle monitor. We can do whatever. There's a lot of different mechanisms to make sure she comes back to court, but we shouldn't need to be in jail. And so the judge was arguing against me, and then finally, at the last minute yesterday, said that he's going to grant me an opportunity to argue bond next Wednesday on the 24th. So next Wednesday on the 24th, we're going to go in and try to argue bond. I've been getting some resistance already, because after they gave me an opportunity to argue bond next Wednesday, my office had like 10 phone calls today saying that if I'm going to be looking to do an evidentiary hearing, maybe it needs to be pushed off, and blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying, look, a bond argument is inherently an evidentiary hearing. It's a hearing. You can present witnesses. But what I plan to do is just to have some of the AIC people come and speak on her behalf, and say that they will accept her back into the program, and with their help, she would have the coverage she needs. I'm also going to have some people from the homeless shelter, who is her social worker, come and speak on her behalf. And I don't think that that's an evidentiary hearing. It's not giving evidence, we're just showing support, that if you get her out, this is the support she's going to have. But they're trying to use words like evidentiary hearing and trying to nix my argument. But we're gonna keep pushing and see if we can get this thing carried through next week. So with that, I'll have Attorney Thomas maybe make a couple of comments if you have any questions.